I'm stealing you, Finn. I'm stealing you. Congratulations. Come closer, come closer so we get you on mic.
Yes.
This is absolutely charming. I watched it already.
Oh, thank you.
I am in love with this. Where did this idea come from to meld science and astrology and cosmic forces?
You know, it really started, I have a lot of women friends in their 40s, and one of them is an astrologer, Lisa, and they felt really commodified and defeated, like doing online dating. It was all about what do you look like? How old are you? What do you weigh? And I thought, animals don't care about any of that. They respond to what your essence is. Much like our astrological symbol that defines kind of what our personality is, what our soul is, I think that's what animals respond to. They can tell an open heart, and they're a little fearful of a closed off or dangerous heart. So that's what gave me the idea for the film.
Well, I have to say, I love how each one of the guys, we have Ajax, who becomes Diego, and we have someone who becomes Sam.
Yeah.
The male counterparts to the pet take on the traits that each one of the animals have. How difficult was that for you to craft that?
Well, I mean, of course I wrote the script and I worked hard with that. I'm a huge lover of animals. I'm a vegan. I used to study wildlife biology, but the actors were the key. So Steve Howey is an extremely experienced comedic and dramatic actor. He was on Reba. He was in Shameless. His instincts were spot on. And then separately, Justin Chatwin studied with a movement coach for weeks to learn cat movements specifically. So he was totally method. He was in character the whole time, like that the whole time. And then Steve was more like, would go with his comedic acting chops. Two totally different ways, but they were also friends from the TV show Shameless. They'd go on motorcycle rides together, so there was a natural friendship rivalry there that really translated to the rivalry between the animals.
And of course, then you get three very notable figures, or four. We've got Kate, we've got Hannah Mae, Ileana, and Sean. How did you bring this kind of weight to this project?
I feel really lucky for the amazing actors I got, and they all came in different ways. With Kate Micucci, I saw a video of her talking about her art, and a lot of actresses wanted to play the role, but she is a very open-hearted person, kind of an every woman, and I instantly knew I wanted her. In terms of Sean Astin, my wonderful assistant director, John Morse, who does Woody Allen's films and all sorts of things, suggested Sean, and it was the perfect idea. In terms of the other roles, my great casting directors, Signa Miguel and Stephen Vincent, suggested Steve Howey. And when I heard about Steve Howey, I thought, what about Justin, who's also on Shameless? He has those feline eyes, and there was something enigmatic, mysterious, and deep about him that I thought would work perfectly in conjunction with Steve.
You know, and of course you bring Ileana on board, and as Monty, that subplot point is so special because there's so much that we're finally starting to hear about dogs that intuitively can sense illness. And that plays a very big part in her character development and also in the development of Sam. When
Sam interacts with Ileana, it's a kind of deep and maybe somewhat sad scene, and you would think in a comedy, is that the right place? I test my films obsessively. It eventually became one of the favorite scenes in the movie. And I've been so blessed. I've learned through making films it's all about casting, and I've worked with great veteran actresses like Kathy Moriarty, Nora Dunn, and in this case, Ileana Douglas. I found even in a smaller role, like the waitress in the restaurant, is Diane Amos, one of the great comedians who was Robin Williams' peer in the early days of comedy. Just getting these Hollywood treasures to work on my film is such a blessing. And I felt it was very important. You know, I love some of the comedies in the 80s like Splash or Big, but I really wanted a female lead to have her fantasies come true. And so I have a female co-producer, a female associate producer, a female producer, Susan Johnson, and a female lead. And it was so liberating and so wonderful. And that scene with Monty, one person, a woman owning the company, turning it over to two other women, and Hana Mae Lee, what I liked about the two of them in the film, Hana Mae Lee and Kate, is they're two versions of a workwoman, kind of a more nose-in-the-books version of Kate, and a kind of out there fighting for rights. I kind of made her look like Rosie the Riveter on purpose. She has the polka dot, because I saw them two versions of women in the workplace. You know, the intellectual and the person who's determined. And together they were a perfect combination.
And of course, kudos to your costumer and your production designer, especially when you mention Rosie the Riveter with Hana Mae's character, because that's countered with the dresses that Kate's character wears.
With Kate, Samantha Koister, who's our costume designer, I said we are making a fairy tale. And at a certain level, it's a fairy tale. So if you look at certain ones and you look very subtly, Kate near the end looks a little like Snow White. And they're in front of the Fairyland sign when she's in the scene by the lake with Sean Astin. And then with Hana Mae Lee, that was kind of a difficult, like a long process finding the right look. I live about 5 minutes from the Rosie the Riveter National Park. It's a big part of like my life, and I know that history so well. I really wanted that as a reference, as we can do it, because in the Bay Area, tech has taken over, but it's still woefully unrepresented in terms of women. Like, it's still 90% male. So I really wanted these two women. The younger guys are giving them a hard time, and they end up proving their dream. Like, and one person said to me, a wrong person said, maybe she should end up with a guy that's rich. I'm like, no, she's going to make her own money. She's going to end up running the company. The relationship is a sidebar. It's a wonderful one, but she learns her esteem through the pets who are a reflection of herself. And ultimately the pets, we learn, they don't want anything from her other than to be around her. There's no usury intent.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the Snow White look, because I noticed that with the Peter Pan collar that Kate was wearing, and I just thought that was so charming, and it fits right in with the troll house, as she called it. Did you rent that, or did you actually go to one of the companies and have it custom made?
Well, in terms of the tiny house, now remember I wrote this a few years ago when
before they came fashionable.
Before they became ubiquitous, I wrote the tiny house in there. And the cargo bites, which I would say I love them. I want to live in a tiny house, but they are also, I think they're expressions of our adult culture. The tiny house, the cargo bite, of the child inside we want to release. And we're trying to find that in adulthood. No, I want a tiny house on wheels. No, I want a long cargo bike. You know, like, they are kind of the new adult toys that the tech millionaires in San Francisco are buying. And I just saw a real connection there. Yeah.
I mean, I am enchanted from beginning to end with this one, Finn. You know, it is 4 paws up. 12 in my house. This has been a treat, and I get to talk to you Monday. You're calling into
that's right.
You're calling into my radio.
I can't wait.
I can't wait for my listeners to listen.
Thank you so
congratulations.
much.
Thank you.
Great to meet you. Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you.